Oh, Die Hard 6 here. It's Monday and it's a mission update. I am so sorry for being so late. We had some technical issues, but you know us, come rain or shine, mission on, and we're going to go. So it's 6:47. I'm sorry, but here's the mission update. As you heard last week, we are open to public events now, in-person events at File Brush. We had our first fellowship breakfast there. Turnout wasn't our best, but it was our first. So next month we will have it again. And again, everybody who wants to help bring hope to veterans and wants to use our facility, reach out to us. We want to work with you. Teamwork makes the dream work. Our next phase, what we started on our volunteer day, our give back day, we have started the demolition on the back two bedrooms. Remember, the ceiling height is just right, so we can get those gutted out, reframed, re-electrical, replumbed, and then we will have room for our volunteers, which our next volunteer day is the second Saturday of the month. I got some news today that we might have a small army of veterans from Chicago coming down to forward operating base Rush. We're still working on a few things logistically, but again, I don't care where you come from. That's why we make it on the second Saturday every month. Come on. Just let us know we're coming so we can feed you. Again, folks, teamwork makes the dream work. We can only do this if everybody pulls together, right? I can't say thank you and God bless enough to all of our volunteers, all of our patrons, all of our mission partners, all of our facility partners, our resource partners, our ministry partners. Everybody does their own little part that makes this mission grow. We need more of you. So come on, join the team. Email volunteer@projectdiehard.org and the team will reach out to you. We will find a safe place where you can be fulfilled and where your skills can help this mission grow. We're still working on the technical issues, but I'm going to bring Sue on first. You remember Sue? She's the ambassador. And I'm going to let her introduce our guest tonight because she's had a lot more contact with Mr. Gleason than I have. So, Sue, welcome on.
So glad to be here as always, Brian. Everything that's going on here with Project Die Hard is always great to hear these updates. All of what's happening there is amazing, and the doors are open. And so glad to be here at this point. We do have an amazing guest joining us tonight, and I got to say, I'm really looking forward to learning more about Don and all that he's bringing forward for us here tonight. So, Don Gleason, I'm so happy to have you joining us tonight. Come on in, and if you could tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you are all about, we are excited to hear more. Over to you, Don.
All right. Well, I really appreciate the opportunity to come on, and I love reading about Project Die Hard and what you guys are doing. And there's so many great organizations out there helping our military, our warriors, folks who are coming back with so many different things that are going on inside them, physical, mental. It's just so important that we really focus. Our warriors deserve. And I hate to say that sometimes because it makes us feel like we're over and above everybody else. But we laid down the lives, we put ourselves out there, and I think a grateful nation needs to pay a little bit. I don't mean that bad. It's just we need to focus in. So to help our veterans, that's probably the better way to say it. To help our veterans do the things they want to do. So one thing I'm focusing in on is the career transition aspect. So I started a company at 27 years Air Force, civil engineer. deployed a number of times down into Iraq and Turkey and that area. Worked on the reconstruction in 2004. $12.8 billion of reconstruction, 3,200 projects across Iraq. So that was really an interesting one. We might come back to that. Did 9 years with Booz Allen Hamilton after I retired in 2009, after 27 years. And then started my own company, Achieve New Heights. And it was really interesting, the struggle I had to figure out who my client was. Who's my avatar, right? It was funny, and I can say this, I think, pretty clearly on this, looking at your website, very Christian focused, right? Is God clearly led me to working with veterans. I tried a number of times to get back to my architect, engineer, construction roots foundation, and it didn't work until I started really working with veterans, and then it just took off. So it's really about career transition, as I said. I think too many people jump in to transition and think, oh, I just need to write a resume or a LinkedIn profile and I'll get a job. And there's a lot of people out there telling them, there's plenty of jobs out there. But if you don't sell yourself right and you don't know what you want to do, you can't sell yourself right. So I take people back through a 4-step process. It's the mindset. What did we learn in the military that is either helping us or not helping us in our transition? Second is, what do we really want to do? What's our focus? Lori Norris uses the word focus. She's on the Lessons Learned for Vets podcast. I use what next, but it's how do you really define that and be specific? Napoleon Hill in his book, Think and Grow Rich, said the more clear you are, the greater this world can help you get to what you want. If you're really general, you're going to struggle. You're specific, the atmosphere, the world, the cosmos will come help you. And then the third part is networking. And too often people think just about the asking for help. But I think there's two aspects. One is validating what you want to do, getting in with professionals and finding out, what is it really like on the outside? What does a project manager really do? What does an engineer really do? What does a human resources person really do? Because they're different than our military. And so you might go back to that what next networking, what next networking. You might go back and forth a while, right? That's why you got to start 2 years early. And then finally you come down. Once you know what you want to do and you know what the people are looking for, then you sell your value on your resume and your LinkedIn, your elevator pitch. But you got to tell stories. Too many people I read on their resume, I was responsible for opening up the command post at 5 o'clock every morning. Okay, so what? Yeah, I need a story about what happened, what problem did you face, what problem did you solve, how did you solve it? Show your thinking ability, show your problem-solving ability, and put it in the terms of the company. If you're going to be on site, so they're hiring you for a job to be on site at the National Security Agency, NSA, just pick one off the top of my head. What are they looking for? What in your background qualifies you to take that job? And it's not just because I was the chief of intel at the 97th Intel Squadron, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't do it. So I think I'm trying to help our warriors in their mental perspective. So many things going on inside of folks by helping them have a clear path to get that job. And I think all of us want that job. All of us want to. We want to add significance, and we do better when we have that job. So that was a long introduction. I apologize, but
not a problem, brother. Look, right then and there. This, folks, is why Don is here, because he's already answered a few questions for you.
Okay.
About hope. What do we do for hope? Well, look, as I tell everybody, we got to have a plan. Mm-hmm. And to plan, you got to have a safe place to be.
That's right.
That's what Project Die Hard's mission is. A facility where veterans can come. Don can give a class. Right? We got big TVs. Yeah. He can sit there and help you out. This is it. So, Air Force, thanks for the ride.
There you go. And the golf courses, right?
Oh, yeah, the golf courses. Yes. Yes.
I think it's so important what you just said. You can't focus in on what you want to do and get that life after the military if you don't feel in a safe place, if your mind's not right. And that's what's great about Project Die Hard is it and others. It's helping our warriors feel safe, get through that. I read the book Invisible Storm. It's a life of Jason Kander, who was a Missouri state senator. He joined, sorry, if I can, he
Yeah.
joined the Army Reserve, became an intel guy, went to Afghanistan as a captain, was supposed to be like an intel analyst in the command post. He got put out on the street, meeting with every bad guy, these the families, etc., the tribes, across Afghanistan. Well, he developed techniques to be aware of what was happening, to anticipate, right? To do the things for survival, to plan to get out if something went bad, to keep him and his people alive. Well, that translated into bad. That was good habits there. It's bad habits on the stateside. So he captures how he went through his VA treatment and how they walked him back out of that. And it just gave me just enough, because I don't have that, but just enough understanding to relate a little bit better.
Well,
Folks are
again,
going through it.
as a combat medic,
Mm-hmm.
I interacted with this indigenous personnel all the time, right? Whether it's putting a Band-Aid on a kid or, I mean, I helped deliver a child in Iraq.
Mm.
Okay. You don't get to do that if you don't build trust.
That's right.
Right? Yeah. Everybody goes, Doc, why are you going back there? Don't worry about it, guys. They're good. But it's that. We do all these great things downrange.
Mm-hmm.
And we're high speed and low drag.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get back out here to the civilian world and what? Here, work at Lowe's. Somebody asked me once, what makes me think I can run a multi-million-dollar nonprofit? I go, well, I don't. God does.
Mm-hmm.
But if you must know, on my last deployment, I was responsible for 3,500 lives and about $20 million worth of equipment with the day-to-day operation of 15 combat medics supporting a brigade size element. So, yeah, I think I might be able to do this.
That's right. Yeah, civilian side doesn't understand that. They don't go through that. I remember when I'd been in the military for 6 months. I went back home to Madison, Wisconsin, and I met with some of my high school and college buddies, and we're having a beer and we're talking about what we're doing now. And these guys were with Northrop Grumman, McDonnell Douglas, Lockheed. I mean, big companies, and here I am with the Air Force, and I'm programming projects, meeting with general officers. I've already designed an addition alteration to the alert facility at KI Sawyer up in Upper Michigan. And these guys are still just learning. We got so much responsibility so much faster. We grew up. We went far beyond what most of these guys get. And I don't say that pounding my chest, it's just the way it was. We give more responsibility to our people. It's kind of sink or swim, but you learn to swim and you have people there to help you swim. And you know how to do it. Yeah, 3,200 projects, $12.8 billion worth of reconstruction. We're working with the ministries to try to design the projects so we can get them to the Army Corps and construct them. And we're dealing with terrorism at the same time, right? It was not uncommon. All of a sudden we get a phone call and say, my family got a threat last night and we left the country. We're no longer in Iraq and we'll be back when things settle down. And so what do we do?
Again, I've been on some of those missions that came down from on high of, okay, we got engineers, preventive medicine, medics. Oh no, here we go, MedCap.
Yeah.
Go out to a village, fix the water pump. My preventive medicine people inoculate all their animals.
Yeah.
Me and my medics, we do physicals and checkups, and you know. But it's just, I love those missions
Mhm.
because it actually showed, hey, we just don't blow things up.
Mhm. We have a humanitarian side to us, right? A
Oh,
caring side to us, doing what's right side to us, caring for the people.
and again, that talk we just had of where, we're forced into these things. Brothers and sisters, you have the skills, you have the
Mhm.
talent. It's not wasted. It's just we're programmed to do things a certain way. This is why we come into existence.
Mhm.
Whether you need to come to a facility for a day, a weekend, a week, a month, up to a year,
Mhm.
these facilities are going to be where you have a safe, secure place
There you go.
to get grounded. Go, hey man, I'm really having trouble getting that dream job. Well, hey, I happen to know this guy. This is why Don's here. I
Yeah.
happen to know this guy who might be able to help you. Oh, and by the way, he's a veteran.
There you go.
Veterans understand veterans.
That's
This
right.
is why we partner with other veteran nonprofits to bring
Mhm.
their specialty programs to our facility.
Excellent.
Yeah,
You know,
this is Teamwork 101.
yeah, you just touched on one of those mindset things that phase one, I'm trying to expand that idea, right? You think about in the military, what do we always say? There's no I in team. This is about team. This is not about you. It's not about you, the individual. So what happens when we get out? Team doesn't matter anymore. It's about you. What did you do? And boy, we struggle with that. Oh, we have a hard time writing about ourselves when we're in the military, especially when we get out. We have a hard time talking about what did I do? Well, I led the team and the team did this. I was working with a gentleman who interviewed with Amazon and he tried for a year. It was only after he changed the we to me or to I and he talked about what I did and what I can do for Amazon did he finally get hired into the initial job he interviewed for. But until we recognize that and we work through that, we will not get the job we are capable of performing. I'll stay away from the deserve. Capable of performing, right? That pays us for our talents. And there's so many of those mindset pieces, right?
Again, I wish all of
Mhm.
my brothers and sisters full success in life.
Yeah.
Okay? Me personally, I do this out of being a medic.
Mhm.
And when God saved my life, when I had the 45 in my mouth,
Mhm.
okay, there's hope out there.
Mhm.
But here at Project iHeart, we're not going to take advantage of the veteran.
Mhm.
When I say skill training, counseling, therapy, transitional housing, there's not a cost to a veteran. This is why people need to step up. Yeah, from what you said on your intro, you go all the way back to Roman history and this
Mhm.
populace of Rome. When a centurion retired out, now that was a minor feat, right?
Mhm.
He got a medallion and he could go anywhere in the empire. Yeah, he got his pension,
Mhm.
but he could go anywhere in the empire. And people would give them a bed to sleep on, a meal to eat. And wasn't because they had to.
Mhm.
They knew what this centurion did so they could live their lives.
That's right.
Come
And think
on,
about
Sue, step in here.
yeah.
Yeah, I am absolutely loving what I'm all hearing with the pieces that so background on me. I do not have the military background. I
Mhm.
love the pieces that I keep hearing and the constant
Mhm.
theme of what Brian says all the time with teamwork makes the dream work.
Mhm.
And bringing all these pieces together and seeing the power that it can have and that it does have and where that can make things go here. I absolutely love the pieces that I'm hearing from you, Don, and how you break it all down so that it makes it step by step, easy to figure out what's next so that you can be successful and know where to go next.
Yeah, as a coach, those steps can be hard,
Yeah.
but when you know what you're shooting for, you can get through it, right? Because if we jump right to the resume and then we struggle, we think we're not good enough, right? Imposter syndrome. The gremlin gets on our shoulder. He's talking in our ear. You're not good enough. What qualifies you to do this? And we start, having a bad, um, not bad thoughts in terms of suicide. That comes, but it's we lack confidence. We start doubting ourselves. And why do I deserve to get that job? And then pretty soon we're working for $8 somewhere. You know, our military have been working for much higher pay than that, and they certainly deserve a better life than that. And so getting them to recognize right up front is so important.
All right.
Oh.
I didn't mean to step on you, Sue. Sorry if I did.
No, you're good.
Not at all. I was actually just looking. I know we have another guest that was here. I was just about to introduce him, and it looks like we just lost him. So
Oh.
I'm sorry.
I lost him.
Yeah, he was here, and I was literally just sorry. We'll see if we can get him back.
Hey, improvise, adapt, overcome.
That's what it's all about.
That's what we're here for. Again,
I was certainly having troubles logging in tonight myself, so we were having technical glitches on all sides.
Again, everybody goes, why don't you pre-record these things? You can work out all these glitches.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, there's Frank.
Here he is.
In the car. Put the camera down a little more. No, other way. You're in a parking lot. We can see that.
Welcome, Frank. We're so glad you're here. Can you hear us okay? There we go. We can't hear you. Hopefully we can get the sound working here for you. Yeah, I still don't have any sound.
Brother, I'm just looking at you and the way Kilroy was here. I can't see your chin.
Yeah, we don't have any sound yet. Oh.
Oh, okay. Check your car. Are you linked to your car?
Yeah. Technical difficulties is always the fun piece here, isn't it? It's been an interesting night. all the pieces are hitting.
Believe it or not, when we get all the kinks worked out, I'm probably going to be like, and this is the mission.
I don't see that.
But I love things like this. Okay, hey, we have a little technical glitch, but we're here.
Well, hopefully the Green Bay Packers do better than this tonight.
Love your Wisconsin guy. I'm with you.
And here I am wearing a Michigan State
Okay.
pullover. My dad got his PhD after being in Korea.
Frank, can you hear us? Thumbs up if you can hear us.
Yes.
And now we got you.
Okay, my headset's medium, so let's get started. Medium power, so let's get started.
All right, let's get rolling. Don, hang out because we're going to bring everybody back, but we got to give Frank the same opportunity to tell who he is.
Excellent. All right. Well, Frank, welcome to the show here. We are so glad that you were able to join us here tonight.
There I am.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, thank you for being here. I know you've got a very unique and interesting background with the speaking and everything that you do. So I'm going to just turn it over to you right away to share a little bit more about who you are and how you can connect here with us with Project Die Hard. So Frank, welcome.
Oh, thank you very much. I began my entertainment / speaking career as a comedian in the 4th grade. Told a joke, kids laughed. Teacher was hysterical. I decided I'm going to be a comedian. 12th grade, I did the talent show and won. And then I went to Southern California to the Comedy Store. It's a branch in San Diego of the famous one up on Sunset in LA. Halfway through my set, I heard a voice in my head, "You're home." So, year and a half later, I said to my girlfriend, now my wife, "Hey, I'm going on the road to be a professional stand-up comedian. Do you want to come along for the ride?" Thinking she'd go, "Hell no." She goes, "Yeah." So we were on the road with no home for 2,629 nights in a row, non-stop. And then did a little radio, then jumped to corporate comedy after dinner, after lunch, the rubber chicken circuit, and rode that horse until into 2007 and 2008 the recession hit. And by 2010 we'd run out of money and filed Chapter 7 bankruptcy, and that's when I learned what the barrel of my gun tasted like. Spoiler alert, I did not pull the trigger. A friend of mine came up after a keynote recently. He heard me say I didn't pull the trigger because I do that in my keynote. He goes, "Hey, man, how come you didn't pull the trigger?" I said, "Hey, man, could you try to sound slightly less disappointed?" So after speaking came back, conferences came back, I decided I wanted to be not a funny speaker, but a speaker who was funny. And I realized I could keynote on suicide prevention if I got some training in suicide prevention, some certification. I've got several. And then my second challenge was I've been a comedian for 2.5 decades. Who's going to believe I can do anything serious? So I got my first TEDx talk on suicide prevention. And I just did my 11th TEDx talk on mental health, and I'm doing my 12th on the 30th of December. An even dozen, which is 2.5 times more TED Talks than anybody else in the world has. And they're all on mental health, one aspect or another. And I speak on suicide prevention as a workplace health and safety priority. I just did 2 shows in Silver Lake, Washington, at the naval base up there. I had done 2 at the Trident submarine repair base, and somebody from the other side of the road there at in I think Bremerton saw me and said, "We want you to come back and do it for us." So I went back up and did a couple of shows for the Navy and the civilian contractors who work on base.
Yeah, I grew up there. My father was the command master chief of the Ghost Fleet in Bremerton
Ah,
when I joined the Army because I realized I didn't swim that well.
that's yeah, I see. And what was your MOS?
I was a 91 Alpha, 91 Bravo, 68 Whiskey, which all the way goes through combat medic to healthcare specialist.
I see. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I spoke last October at Fort Irwin, the National Training Center,
Mm-hmm.
30 miles north of I-10, and they call it the world's longest cul-de-sac.
It is.
It dumps off there, and I did that in October. I did several keynotes for the soldiers, and in April, the base psychologist DM'd me on LinkedIn and said, "Frank, a young man walked into my office this morning, said I'm depressed and suicidal, and I'm here because Frank King said if I was, I had to come in."
Mm-hmm.
So there's the ROI.
I love that. I love that. So you never served a day, but again,
Oh no, oh
but
no,
again,
no, no.
well, hold on. I got to put out to our people. See, Frank never put on the uniform, but he supports veterans. He goes
Oh
to
yeah,
places and talks and says, "Have hope." This is teamwork in action.
and a young man asked me after the second or third keynote during the Q&A, "Is the Army doing enough for mental health?" I said, "Well, I can't speak for the entire Army, but I can speak for Fort Irwin. Otherwise, you know, they're doing what they can. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here." And then, not knowing the one-star general who ran the joint was standing right behind me, I said, "I'm here because Fort Irwin gives a shit." And I turned and I saw the star on his chest. And I turned back to the audience and I said, "Anybody else pooped their pants besides me?" And the commander stepped up. He had a microphone and he goes, "Frank King is absolutely correct. Fort Irwin gives a shit." It starts at the top.
Oh,
You know, he
yeah.
sets the tone. And
Yeah.
so that's yeah.
So what do you tell when you're in these situations to the service members? Because in our organization, we deal with veterans. What do you tell them to keep going?
Actually, my keynote is on spots and symptoms of depression and thoughts of suicide. What to say and do, what not to say and do. And the reason that's important is the good news is 8 out of 10 people who are suicidal are ambivalent, can't make up their mind. 9 out of 10 give hints in the last week leading up to an attempt, which means you can make a difference, you can save a life, and you can do it by doing something as simple as this, starting a conversation on this, if you know how. So I teach them what to look for, what to listen for, and then how to respond.
Now, see, folks, what have I been saying since day one? When you ask a veteran, hey, how's your day going? Be prepared to stand there for 2 hours. You might be that voice they needed to hear. And
Yes,
people like
and
Frank will teach you, hey, what to do next.
yes, I teach them about the signs of depression. Eat too much, can't eat. Sleep too much, can't sleep. Um, have trouble getting out of bed in the morning, so late for work or class. And then let their personal hygiene go. That's when you can actually see. And so if you think somebody's depressed, you have to ask them this question: are you having thoughts of suicide? Just like that.
Yeah.
And if they say no, but you think they are, your gut tells you they're circling the drain. Do they talk about death and dying? Do you catch them Google death and dying or how to die? Is death or dying a theme in their artwork or their music or their writing? Or are they giving away personal prized possessions? They want to make sure they go to the people they want them to go to when they're gone. Here's a really dangerous one. They've been depressed forever, now they're happy beyond reason, for no reason. And you're happy because they're happy. Well, they may be happy because they've chosen time, place, and method, and they know the pain is coming to an end. Because suicide is most often not about wanting to kill yourself, just simply wanting to end the pain.
So true.
So, what if they're honest and say, yes, I'm having thoughts of suicide? What do you say? You say, do you have a plan? If they have a plan and it's detailed time, place, and method, you need to get them to some sort of mental health facility simply for evaluation. Now, what if they got a plan but it's not really detailed? Here's what I would do. I would say, well, are you going to kill yourself? And if they said no, I would say, okay, tell me why not. Make them give voice to whatever's keeping them here because something is, otherwise we wouldn't be having this conversation.
So true. When you're talking about having the taste of the gun, right? I had the 45 in my
Yep.
mouth, and it was a phone call from a veteran. Said, Doc, what are you doing tomorrow? I really ain't got no plans. Why? What's up? Next thing I know, I'm downtown at a church, and this biker preacher goes, "You look like you're bothered, man. What's going on?" And he listened. That's what our facilities are for. That ear.
Yes. It can be as simple as starting a conversation if you know how. And like I said, the good news is 8 out of 10 people are ambivalent, 9 out of 10 give hints. So it's one of the most preventable causes of death on the planet. And you don't have to be a
Oh,
mental health clinician to pull that off.
yes, but and again, though, I'm deep in this world. There's some people that won't give a hint. We just had one 3 months ago.
Yeah, that's true. Well,
Well, no,
and
he was a veteran
not,
service officer. That was his job.
ah,
Are you getting pulled over? Okay.
no, my car cut off. If you
Uh,
sit here long enough, the car cuts off.
yeah, but he was a veteran service officer. So this was the person that knew where to get all the help, knew all the answers. And then just out of the blue, we were
Well,
honored.
sometimes it's the strong ones you got to watch.
Well, we were honored and privileged after talking with the family, and our K9 Center on Forward Operating Base Brush is named the Sergeant First Class Gregory Strong Canine Center. Because that's part of our mission is we don't let people forget the war still goes on here at home.
Well, I would speak for more veterans groups if they would pay. But unfortunately, if I was selling cruise missiles, the government would write me a check, blank check. But veterans, healthcare, mental health care, come on.
Brother, look, I would love to be able to pay people like you to come to our facilities and do a weekend retreat. I would love it. Wish I could. Our facilities take electricity, water, insurance. So I got to look at where do we spend the money. But we can certainly have you.
Yeah, no, I understand. I just.
So, brother.
Yes, be delighted. It's sad that, that they don't take better care of veterans.
Oh, yeah, I know. But, brother, yeah. People, Frank here has made it through to get onto this podcast, so you know how hard that is. Reach out to us. We'll put you in contact. Now, he does this for a living. He has a wife. And I know those things are expensive. Got one. Right?
Yeah.
So, yes, do everything you can to help them. Book them into your event. Book them into brothers, sisters, teamwork. Here's a great asset that you can get in. Okay. At this point, we're going to bring everybody back on. So, okay. Wow, that's magical. And then
I was holding my breath on that.
Yeah. And then we're going to ask the question that I posed to my team this morning. Yeah, we do this thing. And we'll start with Sue, but it's going to be the same question. In your guys' thing, it'll be, why did you come onto this podcast and help Project Ireland, right? But Sue, you are a Project Die Hard ambassador. You do this in a volunteer position. Why do you do that? And why should people join you?
It's a great question because I look at this and I understand, I hear the stories. I don't have that military background, but I hear all these pieces and then I hear the whole part about how many veterans are affected by this and how many are losing their battle on a daily basis. And it just makes my head spin. I honest to goodness can't get my head wrapped around how the numbers can possibly be so high, and something needs to happen. Something needs to change. And this, what you're doing here, Brian, with Project Die Hard is the vehicle. It is a vehicle. Thank God there's multiple vehicles out there. You just got to look for them, but that this exists and that this is a way to make a difference. That's why I'm here.
Okay, and why should other people come to join you?
Well, in the words of what Frank just said, people need to give a shit because it's that important. Sorry, but that is it. People need to get. You guys went out and put your life on the line. You chose to do that. I get the luxury of the benefit of that. We all do. All of us sitting here in the States here have the privilege of knowing what you guys did for us. And how do I say thank you? There's got to be a way to make a difference back for you guys who have done so much for us.
Okay, a solid answer. My thing to the people, why should you join? Sue does what she can. She needs more help because, trust me, I run my team ragged. They need more. They need people to help them.
We need to grow this team. Like you keep saying, teamwork makes the dream work. And that is the truth.
We need to grow this team. All right. Since Frank's on a low battery, we're going to go to him next. Frank, why did you go through all the hoops to come onto this podcast for Project Die Hard? And why should people help Project Die Hard?
Simple reason. My goal in life is to save a life a day. And we don't know who's listening. We don't know who heard me say these signs and symptoms and maybe realize that somebody they care about has those signs and symptoms. Now they know what to say. Again, anybody can save a life. You don't have to be a mental health clinician. By the way, if anybody's in Florida listening to this, there's a fabulous organization called Firewatch. Florida has the second largest number of veterans in the country as a state, and they have Firewatch. And it's in the military, Firewatch is, I guess they make you stand outside and so the building doesn't burn down. I guess is what that's all
Kind of,
about.
sort of.
Yep, and they actually paid me to come. And I got to tell you, the guy who spoke before me, he said, "Hey, I've got good news. The last year, 22 veterans died every day from suicide. This year, only 21." So when I got on stage, I said, "Look, I'm no grammarian, but I think if we're talking about suicide, the word 'only' should not be in the middle of that sentence. 21 is still far, far too many."
One
So
is too many.
one is too many, yes. And when I was on Fort Irwin, and I, they're kind of restless, and I said, "I can tell you what the barrel of my gun tastes like." You could see them stop, and you could see on their faces, wow, this is not academic for him. So, because I live with two mental illnesses, depression and chronic suicidal ideation, which again, people always set aside like 30, 45 minutes after my talk for the line of people that want to chat and tell me a story. Many of those stories they've never told anybody else. And so that's why I do the podcast. That's why I speak, is to save at least a life a day.
Okay. Uh, any words of other folks like you? Why should they join our team?
Well, because the government seems to have forgotten. That's, they want you to serve, and then you're out, and it's kind of every man and woman and whatever for themselves. It's sad. And as Sue said, you guys, gals, non-binary, whatever, fought for our freedoms that we take for granted day in, day out. So I think it's important, if you can be on a podcast, be on a podcast. If you have the wherewithal to volunteer, volunteer. Take a training. Ask a veteran when you see a veteran. Ask them how they're doing. Just very simple steps. And then, don't just take on living the dream for an answer. If you sense that's not the truth, then follow up. Something's wrong.
Mhm. All right. Solid point. Solid point.
Well,
All right.
and by the way, I was never in the military because, not that I'm not patriotic, but comedians and military really don't mix well.
No.
No, I have a problem with authority. So,
Believe it or not, I'm lucky I made it as far as I did, because so do I. I was also the unit clown, but I guess it was the medic in me trying to make everybody, hey, it's all good, guys.
if you want some good military comedy, a friend of mine named Blake Clark. Blake Clark was in Vietnam, and he's got a whole routine on a comedian in the military. And it is, and he came back from Vietnam. People spit on him, and he's still married to the same woman, bless her heart. He came back with PTSD before they called it PTSD. And so, yeah, but he's hysterical. And when you see him, you'll recognize him. He was the dad in 51st Dates. He played Drew Barrymore's dad. You'll recognize him when you see him. But anyway, just hysterical about.
Put him in contact with our team. I'd love to have him on the podcast.
Yeah, he's.
All
Yeah,
right.
he says. The sergeant said to me.
We're on a time crunch, so brother, I'm not disrespecting. I just got to give Don
Okay.
his time to answer those
No.
questions. All right,
I love what Frank was saying. Save a life a day, man. That is an outstanding goal, and that is perfect. To answer your question, Brian, why should people get involved in Project Die Hard? Is unfortunately the TAP program is failing. Now, I, I went on LinkedIn not too long ago and asked a question. How did it help you? Because it helped me. I went through the executive TAP twice, and the second time I had a worksheet. I think on the third day or something like that, I spent like 4 hours at night walking through it. And what do I really want? Right? Do I want to supervise or not? Do I want to do business development or individual contributor? Do I want to work inside, outside? Do I want to travel? How much? All these different questions. And I kind of built out a picture of what I wanted. I talked earlier about Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, right? Chapter 2. When you really know what you want, you can go get it. And that helped me. And so many folks are military that are coming out are afraid to take that position. It's like, oh, I don't know. Well, I don't know. Well, I don't know. Well, when will you know? What do we have to do to help you know? And I think that's where Project Die Hard comes in, like you said earlier, is a safe space so you can stop and think. And you can get past the mental mindset that we've captured, which is I'm just waiting for the boss to tell me what to do, when to do it, and how high I jump. Because now you have to think on your own. And I think a lot of our people did think on their own, but they still had to. They still kind of waited because military always told them when to move, what job you're going to get. And I don't know how many times I did. I watched the people around me. Boss called him in and said, I know you're not qualified for this job, but I need somebody to take this on. Can you take it on? And we said, hell yeah. We took it on and we succeeded.
Mhm.
But that created, again, mental mindset. It created a belief in ourselves that we just take everything on. We can do anything. But in the civilian world, they want you to be specialized. They're looking for that project manager or engineer or Intel or whatever. They're not looking for that jack of all trades. So we got to go deep. We got to break some of that mindset piece. So I think again, where Project Die Hard comes in is help people stop. Let me rephrase that. To recognize what they've gone through, recognize the mental blockages, limiting beliefs, the fears. And boy, military don't want to ever admit that we have a fear. Ain't no way. But we all do. How many Elon Musk, Bill Gates, all these guys suffer from imposter syndrome, but they're highly successful. It's how you walk through it. It's not whether you're going to have it, it's how you walk through it. Recognize it. And we just need to help everybody realize that you're not different. You're just like everybody else. We're human. It's the human condition. And we've got to help each other recognize. And I love what Frank is doing. He does it in a different way, right, with humor, but it's a way to recognize
Yeah.
those challenges.
Well, you mentioned TAP,
Mhm.
right? Transition Assistance Program.
Yep.
I went through the senior one too. Where I went through, I really had to raise my hand, and Frank, feel free to use this. We are going to go through a 2-hour block of instruction on how to balance a checkbook. Excuse me. We're all senior leaders in here.
Yeah.
We've counseled soldiers on bouncing checks. If we don't know how to balance a checkbook, there's something wrong. And God bless the instructor. I have to do this. Congress mandated it.
Yep. But I'm gonna push back on you, Brian. I am amazed at how many, and we didn't do that in my executive TAP program neither time.
Well,
But
you're in the Air Force too, not the Army.
there you go. But it's amazing how many of our people do not know how to balance a budget. In America, people 50% roughly are living paycheck to paycheck. Think back to 2015 when the government shut down, and the Coast Guard people were lining up in the food bank on that first week because they didn't have the money to feed themselves. It was paycheck to paycheck. The other military services would have probably been the same if they hadn't gotten their paychecks continued. So we have way too many people in America, way too many people in the military living paycheck to paycheck. And I
No,
don't think they know how to balance a budget. They don't know what a budget is.
I will grant you that.
Hmm.
But there is something wrong as a senior leader when I had to actually sign paperwork so my E3 with a wife and 2 kids could go get food stamps.
Agree.
You think?
Maybe.
That's a sad situation in America today. Yep.
Now,
Well, and
Coast
guys,
Guard, though. Coast Guard, I got to remind people, they are brothers in arms, yes,
Hmm.
but they don't belong to the Department of Defense.
Correct.
That's
But
why
not,
they
but
can get paid.
yeah, but not to say they're not laying down their lives just like the
Oh,
military
I'm not
services. Yeah.
saying they're not, but
They're
we
the,
have to delineate what do you mean that how come everybody else got paid?
Yep.
Because they officially belong to the Department of the Treasury.
Yep.
and the Treasury prints the money, you'd think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They,
Well, think what happened a couple months ago. 30 September when we just about shut the government down. The
and it
military
may
was
happen again.
not, it may happen again. The military
Yep.
was not set to get paychecks in October. They were not giving that waiver. That could have been very ugly.
Well, and here's something I did some research on veterans and suicide, and the research I came across said that it's being in a war zone
Mhm.
was not as significant in suicidality as was leaving the military.
Mhm.
Because you leave the military, in the military, there's somebody watching your back. It's a team spirit. It's a joint. You're in your foxhole buddies, and when you get out on the street in the civilian world, there's nobody watching your back. There's nobody backing you up. There's no sort of team, ethos, and that is a major factor in veteran suicide these days.
Yep. I had heard career transition was the number one ideation for
Oh, it is.
suicide in the military.
Yep.
Yep.
It is. But once again, though, this is something done. I got to call the kettle black.
Mhm.
I invite a team together. When did all these successful veteran business people forget that if one fails, we all fail?
Well, and there are some that start businesses that hire veterans. There's a coffee company, I think, in Colorado.
I got it. But I'm talking, we're the nonprofit.
Ah,
Mhm. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? We're the nonprofit. We invite other nonprofit business owners to join our mission.
Yeah.
Third Day Coffee Seguin out of Seguin, Texas. For every 3 bags of coffee you buy using code PDH22, our facilities get a bag of coffee.
oh,
That's what he does. Maxwell Soaps. Right? But so you don't stink. For every 4 bars you order using PDH22, we get a bar at the facilities. That's what he does.
There you go.
Right? So we got coffee and soap. It's a card.
I hate
With
to say, I hate to say sometimes some of those people military veterans who started a business don't know how to give back. And they're not asking the question. They're not seeking somebody to help them be philanthropic, to give those things. So I hate to say that because it's not that hard. But they get wrapped just like the military leaders today are wrapped around the mission, and they're busting their tail to commit to execute the mission. And now we're helping Ukraine, and now we're helping Israel, right? As well as all the other things we're trying to do. And Russia is out that way, and China's out that way, and North Korea's out that way. I mean, the threats are immense, and they're not getting rated on how the military transition out of the service. So they're focused on the mission, but the VA and some of the others are.
That's throughout history, brother.
Yeah, it is. But they bring us in and train us to do what they need us to do in the military. They don't focus on training us to do what we need to do in the corporate. So who's going to do that?
I
And
got
that's
it.
and that's why there's so many organizations like you walking through this.
All right, brothers. I'm getting a couple messages here from other folks. I'm over our time limit on their pages. So I
Okay.
have to say thank you for joining us tonight at Project Die Hard Mission Update. If you have any questions or comments or wish to reach one of our guests, you can reach us at contact@projectdiehard.org. If you want to volunteer and help this mission grow, volunteer at projectdiehard.org. And with that,
If I
Sue, you get anything?
if
Because,
I can, Brian or Sue, anybody who listens to this who would like to talk to me, I'll give them a free 30-minute conversation to help them focus in on their career transition.
wow, see,
Complimentary.
guys,
So I will help anybody.
get,
I've helped over 168 people in the last 3.5 years and did not get any pay for that.
hey, brother, we're going to plug you into our network. Trust me.
Let's do it.
We're going to plug you into our network. But any last comments, questions before I say Die Hard 6 out?
Yes, the VA, the VA. There are lots and lots of veterans who are not registered. The VA can't help somebody who's not registered with them. And the older they are, the more likely they are. Well, somebody needs that more than I do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not a zero-sum game. Just because you get help from the VA doesn't mean the next guy's not going to. So if you know somebody's a veteran that's not registered with the VA, get them registered.
There you go, guys. Get
Bingo.
registered. Even if you don't get $1, get registered because you're going to get older. You're going to,
You earned it.
That's right.
You earned it.
yeah. All right. Well, with that parting thing, I'm going to end our live segment. Hang on, and we can talk a little bit more offline. Die Hard 6 out.
Great point, Frank. Thank you.